All right, troops.
Kym, pleasure to see you, my man. How you getting on?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Yourself?
Not bad, not bad. I'm glad to have you on. And it's quite ironic you coming back on because see when we last spoke, because you were watching your previous episode, as was I. And one of the things that we had talked about was Thomas the Tank Engine, how I'd just started the channel, how I'd called how I'd called him a ball bag, and I got Thomas a ball bag and got death threats. And then I said, don't get me started on James, and you went off on one. Now, by the time of this recording, I have done not only a redo of my analysis of Thomas, but also James in a series called Sodor's Bawbags. And the 180 for me creating content on that last year to what it is now, because I've gained some respect in the community, where they're like, they went from, I hope you die and rot in hell and I'm going to find you and kill you, to, I don't agree with your opinion, but I respect it. And I'm like, if that's not success...
Like, how do you get from that? It's like, yeah, I hate you, but now I respect you.
That's what happens when you build a quality content channel. And well, beforehand, I was going, right, I think this guy's a prick. And there was no like kind of justification. And I could ramble. I could go on and go, he's a prick because I just ramble. But I created an in-depth analysis essay of why I thought he was a prick, backed it up with evidence, gave my theories on why I think he's a prick, but then also said, just because I think he is a prick doesn't mean he's a bad character. That was where the confusion was lying. They thought that I didn't think he was a good character, and I'm like, no, I like that he is a prick because it makes you think rather than all these cookie cutter, we're great kind of characters. And I just thought, since we were talking about that previously and we'd had a bit of a rant about it, I thought, here is how the tide has turned since we last spoke on Tank Engine and Steam Engine Bawbags.
I just love that. I love how, like, a year or so ago, we were like, he's a fucking ball bag. And now everyone's like, yeah, fair enough, he's a ball bag, but he's our ball bag. Like,
Yep. And that's what happens when we create the quality content that I've somehow been able to deliver with the Ginger Engine. Well, and you've had a wee bit of a roller coaster yourself since you've been away. So tell us your stories.
So yeah, anyone who watched the last episode, thanks for watching that one. Surprisingly, you put up with my shit for an hour, which no other comedy audience would do. No other audience would be like, oh, for fuck's sake, now we've got to put up with this shit. That's why I've only ever done a solo show once. I did it once and I was like, cool, got the t-shirt. I never got the money off of that, but fuck them. But yeah, it's been weird since the last time I was on. My acting career is still somewhere, still trying to find it. as we all, we're all trying to find where our career is actually going to take off. Exactly. Nearly took off, and then I realized, no, this ain't going to work. But yeah, I've just been, comedy's been a weird thing, especially over the last, I don't know if you've seen this, but definitely over the last couple of months, it's sort of that weird, we're back in this weird phase again with comedy where it's like, oh great, here we go. Here we go. Obviously, with the whole Russell Brand thing that came out a little while ago, one of the things I learned during that was, if you're a straight white male comedian, keep your fucking mouth shut. Don't say anything. Because I literally, the only thing I said on the matter was like, okay, I'm not saying, what he did was good or what the victims are saying is bullshit, but can we at least wait until more comes out about it? Immediately cancelled on the London scene. Immediately cancelled. I'm like, great, I should have just kept my mouth shut. In future, just keep your mouth shut. All comedians, keep your mouth shut unless you're involved.
Unless you have some sort of career that if it tanks, you can go, well, there'll be another scandal in a couple of months, I'll make a joke about it, and then it'll start to rise again. Well,
this is the thing that I find so funny about it. Like, when the whole Russell Brand thing came out, it was like, everyone was trying to cancel each other, and now it just died off really quick. And you look back at it and go, what? like, what was all this cancelling for if it's just going to go like flatline again?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a case of like, and we've seen it with a lot of things lately, not just in the comedy scene, but it seems to be right. This big thing happens. Everybody goes ape shit. They go ape shit for like, X amount of time, and it burns so brightly, but it also only lasts half as long. And then it's like, right, when's the next shitstorm coming so we can start on this?
Exactly. It's like just like in general, like I think with any industry at the moment, it's just like you're just waiting for the next big shitstorm to like hit you. You don't know what it's going to be, but it's probably going to be the most pathetic thing ever. And like I've been doing it now for like 5 years, so it's like I've seen a fair share of like shitstorms, as if COVID a few years ago didn't make things 10 times worse.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely been a weird year. 2023, I think, from a comedian standpoint, I sort of took a bit of a back seat a bit more. I sort of took a bit more of a back seat because I realized, right, I'm burning myself out way too often. And I'm always told this. One of your previous guests, Jimmy Longmire, has told me this time and time again. He's like, you're burning a candle at both ends. And it's like, I know, but I just end up doing it. Like, I keep burning myself out. So I've sort of had to, for my own mental stability, sort of gone, right, I need to start reining myself in again and just take it as it is. Because for the first like 3.5 years of my career, I was always like, oh, I need to get on this gig, I need to do that, and then if I do this gig, I'll get to this position. And it's like, no, just like stop thinking too far ahead. Just like sort of let each gig come. I mean, the last gig I did, I had to do with laryngitis. Like I could just about talk. Funny story about it. The sound system basically blew up on us. We had no sound system. There was a DJ going on upstairs at the venue. So we were battling a DJ who was just like drum and bassing up there. And I got to a point where I actually started headbutting the table, going, ugh, why?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to gigs like that before as well. A gig that I was at, and there was two venues. Like, there was the venue like for the actual comedy gig that was going on, but then there was like, the kind of working man's pub that was going on, and that night they had karaoke.
Oh,
so I don't know if you've ever heard like a comedian trying to compete with a drunk 60-year-old singing Sweet Caroline. But that was something that even I was just there. I was there watching. I wasn't there performing, and I was like, wow, respect. Well, I went up to the guy afterwards. I was like, I don't know how you were able to do that. And he was like, I don't know either. Well, because apparently he was fighting the urge to just start singing along with him and see if he could get a laugh out of it. And I was like, you should have. I mean, at least would have went da da da, just at random intervals. It wouldn't even have been in time.
Sweet Caroline is one of those songs where even if you don't like the song, you can't help but to join in. Yeah. One of the things I I do when like that song, because that song always comes up when you're steaming drunk. Like you can't listen to it sober. You have to be steaming drunk to listen to that song. But one of the things I used to do is every time the ba ba ba, I would kick the nearest thing to me, whether that's a bin, a wall, a table, my brother. I would just start kicking shit. So every time, Sweet Caroline, bam, bam, bam.
I have to ask, did you ever like break any bones in your brother's body from doing that?
I accidentally kicked him once and he fell down a load of stairs.
Now that's impressive.
Because I was like, at this point, I'm steaming drunk. This ain't gonna kick him that far. I just look to the left and see him tumbling down a load of stairs, and I'm like,
oh no.
Oh no. And me being steaming drunk as I was, I just see him at the bottom of the stairs and he's like, can you help me up? I'm like, nope, and just run. I'm like, I got nothing to do with this. It wasn't me. I just ran down the street from the pub going, it wasn't me.
So you went from Sweet Caroline to Shaggy. It wasn't me.
Again, it's another song that you can only do when you're steaming drunk. Like that's why I love like occasionally going to karaoke's, because it's just funny seeing when sober people try it, and then when those who are just completely shit-faced do it. I just, some shit-faced people just start and then halfway through a song go, this is fucking crap, and just throw the mic down.
There is one of my dad's friends, and he is a guy that he could be absolutely steaming, like completely gone, like to the point where he's sleeping in a corner. Yet he can go up and sing Snow Patrol usually. He's hunched over like this. But he's a fucking amazing singer. Like, he does not miss a beat. He is perfectly in tune. I am like, how? You could barely see the microphone that you are holding. You're almost like kissing the floor. Yet you are still belting out louder, louder. I'm like, I'm perfect tune. Like, he's one of those, like, you know, like, he doesn't watch the channel because that's why I can say this. My dad does, and he'll be able to back me up on this. He's a guy who'll be sitting in the corner, just like totally dead. And then the second he hears one of his mates move, like a shandy, please. And then the second that arrives, cheers, mate, drink it, back to sleep. And then right next to the karaoke with Stuart. Right, off he goes again. What?
Jesus.
He's an amazing guy, honestly. Like, he is one of the best guys. Such a nice guy as well. Like, I wouldn't say anything about him if I thought he was a prick, because he's one of the nicest, loveliest people you will ever meet. But he's hilarious.
I mean, like, this is the thing. Like, we talk about like what's been happening since I was last on it. Obviously, I've just finished, as you probably saw on Facebook, I've just finished doing a run at Scream Aloud Scream Park, which was one of the most insane experiences I've ever done. Anyone who doesn't know what Scream Aloud is, basically it's this horror park thing where there's this one long maze and you go through different zones. And I was ironically in Ward 13, which, let's be honest, it probably wouldn't be the first time I've been on a ward for the same reason. The reason why it's such the weirdest experience is because I've been a massive like horror fan, geek, nerd, whatever you want to call them. I love how people are like, you can't say nerd anymore. It's like, fuck off. You play D&D. Fuck off. Like, I've genuinely been heckled by a D&D match at a comedy show. I'm like, I don't even understand this shit you're heckling me with. Like, yeah, but anyway, so I was doing Scream Aloud, and it was a lot of fun. I've always been a fan of scare attractions for the last 7 years. So getting to do that, and with the amount of creative freedom I had, you've seen the pictures. I looked like a nut job. It was weird because the makeup wasn't always as intense as it was. It sort of gradually got worse and worse, and then we got rained off because fucking weather, as always. But then the day after, we just got completely shit-faced, which was the funniest thing ever.
How did you actually come about getting that event and being involved in it?
So I, as always, you see random jobs come up on Facebook all the time. I don't care what people say. It's Facebook, not Meta. Fuck off. I don't care. This is where the Twitter bit comes in later.
Oh yeah, we gotta get that bit in.
I have a lot to say about Twitter X. Fuck off. But yeah,
I mentioned in previous episodes that every time I hear X, I just have "Don't give it to you, X. Don't give it to you." And so that's going to run through my head now.
But yeah, where was I? Yeah, so I saw the job application on Facebook, and I was like, you know what? I like horror. Give it a shot. It's one of those, I don't know if you ever get one of those, like, even as an actor, you get those things occasionally where it's like, am I even going to get this job? Like, even if I put myself forward, am I even going to get it? It's called just waiting for the next rejection, because let's be honest here, people like us, we're getting rejected a lot more than I think we normally get accepted a lot of the time.
That's why I gave up doing it. It's like I just gave up. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to create my own thing, because at least I know I'm guaranteed a gig.
Exactly. So
respect you for still doing it, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was the most chilled out freaking like interview I ever had. It was like a WhatsApp call. And the funniest thing was when I was having a WhatsApp call with the guy who runs the event, my building was doing the fire alarm testing. So I'm sat here on this call, literally where I am now, just sat there The guy's on the phone, and I'm just there, just looking at him, going, "Just ignore it. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. It'll go away eventually." It went on for about an hour. It went
Oh
on
my
for an hour.
God.
I'm just there, like.
Oh,
But
I
yeah,
can sympathize so much with that. Like I had a full day of like recordings booked. Well, and it was the day that my front door was getting replaced. Well, they said we'll be there between 8 and 5. I thought, right, fair dues. 5 past 8, they turned up. My first call was at 10:30, and I'm like, holy fuck, please. Like at least have the bulk of it done so that there's as much noise going around. I thought, dancer, the bulk of it was done. Went on to the first episode. My dad and my mum turned up with my boys' car seats, and I'm like, fudge nuggets! Have to pause this, go out, get the car seats, run back in. I'm like, I'm on a call. Sorry, guys. Love you really. Bye. Off we go back on. I'm like, I'm like, fucking hell. It was like the thing I was the most worried about. I didn't need to be worried about. It was just randomly my mum and dad turning up. I'm like, any other time I would be like, right, come in, have a coffee, have a biscuit. I'm like, crap, I'm on a Zoom call with someone from Liverpool. Bye.
I mean, that reminds me of like the funniest podcast episode I ever recorded, because where I was living at the time, they were basically replacing all the doors in the building.
Yeah.
There is a picture, if you go back on my Facebook like 3 years, there's a picture where I have no door. There is no door frame. It's just the cinder blocks, essentially. Yeah. And I'm there like, I'm trying to record an episode at the time, and you can hear them like drilling away. And every so often you'll hear me go, "Shut the fuck up!" And I just get so angry that it becomes a thing of every time Kym shut the fuck up, it's just like ding, ding, ding.
Oh, did it become a drinking game?
I think we wanted it to become an unofficial drinking game. A really unofficial drinking game.
Again, I have accidentally turned a Thomas thing into a drinking game. Well, me and my mate Kev were reviewing like one of the worst Thomas movies that's ever been made. And we were like, right, if we had to drink during this, we would probably be plastered. Like, thankfully, we're both sober, and like clean.
It depends what one's the worst one. Like what
Misty Island Rescue.
Oh, fuck off. No, Magic Railroad, fuck off.
No, trust me. If you watch Magic Railroad, you will drink yourself into oblivion. Well, it was one of those ones that I was like, fuck, I actually had to watch it twice. I watched it first because at first I was planning on doing just like my solo analytical review. Did it, I was like, oh crap. And then Kev decided he was going to do like a worst movie season on his channel. God. And I'm like, oh crap. Here we go. Let's go for it. Brought him down to my parents' house because that's where I was at the time. Couldn't drink in, and he was like, if we turned this into a drinking game, I wouldn't be able to go home for 3 days. So we came up with a full like drinking game. What's the things we'd have to do like in this movie? We would probably be like, in intensive care getting our stomachs pumped if that was the case.
I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I remember watching Magic Railroad. This is now just turning into a Thomas episode now. Fuck you, lot. I just remember like watching it when I was younger and thinking like, it's the most magical thing you've ever seen. And then I watched it again recently after fucking watching some of the Ginger Engine. Just like, okay, I need to watch some of this, see what's going on here. And I remember rewatching it, and I'm like, you know what? What the fuck was I like as a child? How is this magical? A talking train. How like now when I go to like a heritage railway, I have to now talk to inanimate objects like, hello, you engine. Why are you not talking to me? You're fucking rude. I'm not allowed to go back there anymore.
Yeah. Well, which heritage railway? There is a few of them.
I think it was last time I was down at West Somerset.
Right. As long as you're not banned from York, you're okay. York's the big one. That's the one where if you get that's like the equivalent of, if you get blackballed from a comedy club at like one of the big comedy clubs, it filters down. Yeah. York is essentially like, the big comedy club you get of Heritage Railways. You're blackballed there, it filters through. Luckily, I've not been blackballed yet. There's still time.
I mean, this is the thing, like, last time you and me did an episode together, like, you had just done a gig with me, like I think a couple of days before, or something like that.
Yes.
And you were like, you were fucking hilarious. Like, you were saying to me, like, you're hilarious. And I'm like,
yes.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. I just say things that are really fast paced so people think I'm actually smarter than I actually am. And yeah, I just remember because I think you and me just went on a massive dark tangent thing. What else did we talk about last time? Right, Millennial Romeo.
Yes, we
Oh,
did.
God. That character didn't last long. I just ended up retiring him because I tried him out a couple of times and I was just like, no one finds this absolutely funny, does it? It basically was, for context for anyone who didn't know, basically it was just me taking the piss out of millennials for at least a long moment of time, and then me and you just started making like spit roasting jokes and shit like
of course
that.
I did, because I am a millennial.
Exactly.
Well, so if I couldn't roast it, who could? Aside for you. Well, but it was one of those ones, like, you'll say, people like that, well, they didn't really get it, blah, blah, blah. Have you seen the view count that you had on your episode?
I know.
So people clearly got it and liked it. So you can tell them all to fuck off, because the internet loved it.
Exactly. Like, this is the thing. Like, one of the, like, I love how we've gone from, yeah, I've just done a run of scare acting to Thomas is still a fucking ball bag to here we go again. But yeah, just
hey,
like
we're catching up. We're catching up. It's great. This is what happens.
It's literally been like what, at least 12 to 18 months, something like that. It must be.
I would say so.
Along.
Yeah, I think it was about that, about a year and a half. Well,
yeah, it must be. But yeah, so going back to like Scream Aloud, that was like, honestly, despite how we didn't get to go out on our own terms, the people that I got to work with, my little psycho family, as we called it, were absolutely amazing. Like, you've seen the pictures. We're just covered in fake blood every night. It was just so much fun. And after like in your description, you always put like mental health. I think it's important still to talk about it. I talked about it in the last episode, and I'm going to talk about it again. 2023, I think, I don't know if you can agree to an extent, it's been a rough year. Like, we for us as mental health, like, sort of people who want, people to acknowledge it better. Yes, it's acknowledged, but it's not fully understood yet still. I feel like we're definitely a long way away from sort of mental health utopia, so to speak.
Or even just like some borderline understanding. There isn't.
Year. It really hasn't.
No, it really hasn't. But it's one of those things that, like, when we kind of touched base again for Carbon, and you were like, "How's things?" and I'm like, "Well," and told you my stuff, and you're like, "Holy fuck!" And then I went, "How are you?" And you went, "Well," and I was like, "Holy fuck!" What? So it was one of those ones that we were both like, "Okay, 2023 has been a catch you next Tuesday of a year for us." But at the time when this comes out, it will be in 2024. We will have officially started January. So this is what I'm asking the ones that are now coming into 2024 slot. What do you envision for coming into 2024 for you? What would you like to change? Because we have had such a rough biatch of a year. What do you want to kind of go, that ain't happening to me again specifically?
I think for me, I think I need to start, hopefully 2024 is going to be one of those years where I'm like, I'm going to stop focusing on what everyone else thinks of me and actually just focus on myself, because I've always struggled with that. I've always sort of tried to be that person of, oh, I'll be like this because then this person will like me and then I won't be alone. And then, it's one of those things. It's people pleasing, and it's not, a lot of people are like, oh, people pleasing. Sometimes it works well. Yeah, until it backfires in your face.
Oh yeah, it really
and
does.
When it does backfire, you know about it. Saying that, like, one of the people that I worked with at Scream Aloud, shout out to Rachel, also known as Tink. Hey. We have a whole thing about badgers.
Oh, now that's I got to hear.
Badgers. There's a thing about badgers, right? So essentially, me and her were getting along really well, because we both suffer with mental health. She doesn't mind me saying this, hopefully. Oops.
She'll only know if you tell her to watch the episode, so there you go.
Yeah, she's going to watch this anyway. But yeah, we were like, we just started randomly talking about badgers. And there's this thing on, I can't believe I'm saying this, there's a thing on YouTube called the Badger Song.
Yes, because that is currently running through my head right now since you mentioned it.
We're both thinking the same one here. Badger, 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 Marshall, Marshall.
The one that Brian May bloody endorsed.
Honestly, like, this is the thing. The thing is with that song, there's now like a drum and bass and rave version of it. And like me and Rachel were listening to it the other night, and we were like, right, I know what's getting put on at the cast party. And we like, have this thing, like with the Badger thing now, it's just the final night of Scream Aloud, essentially, because it got rained off and we knew we were out of a job, we just went around the entire massive big top tent that was on the field, and at the top of our voices just started getting everyone to scream Badger.
Nice.
No context to why we did that. And I just remember Rob, who runs the event, he looked at me and Rachel shouting, Badgers! And just looked at us and went, the fuck?
Right. So I've got a question. Yeah, have you seen a badger in real life?
Yes.
There we go.
So cute.
They are, aren't they? I remember seeing one driving with my girlfriend at the time to the airport at 3 a.m. It's just randomly strolling through Hamilton, and I'm like, of all the places, it was the fact it was coming across the road where a pub was. I'm like, that badger's pissed. He's been in that pub. He's leathered some ale, because I think badgers would drink ale. I think that's how they roll. Well, and
the thing, like the weirdest thing is, like with all our badger like conversations, we found out some weird shit about badgers. We found out that badgers actually have vaginas. What the fuck?
Are we talking like even the male ones?
Like, yeah, like now this episode is brought to you by badgers.
Yeah, well, whilst we've mentioned this, because I always put like the things in the title, the first thing that's going in is badgers. Badgers is the starting point of the title of this episode. Well, it has to be. Well, it's something that like the first hashtag, badgers. It's got to be.
Like people are going to be searching through for like cute badger videos, and then they're going to come across that mental ginger show. Badgers.
There's loads of things.
Saying that, I'm now looking on Google for ginger badger, seeing if there's an actual ginger badger.
Right. So, right. We are both looking for a ginger
badgers.
We are going to be looking for a ginger badger because I think my plan will be at this point to put a picture of a ginger badger up on the screen while we're talking, looking at ginger badgers, and we can go, way.
This is just going to turn into a whole thing now of like, so if people like, I love how like ginger people get like all the shtick. Are we going to start giving ginger badgers shit as well?
I hope not, because we didn't even know they existed until about 2 minutes ago.
I didn't even like.
So it's one of those ones that I'm like, right, if they've been able to survive ginger badger abuse for so long, I ain't doing that to the badgers. If you tell Brian May that there's a ginger badger, he'll turn and want them all extinct.
You know,
like they'll be like, gingers, kill them. Because I've said this several times, like in gigs, like I think gingers are the only acceptable form of racism left.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what it feels like. You know, anytime somebody makes a ginger joke, I'm like, you would not make that joke to anybody else. Like, if there was any other thing going on with them, why is it so acceptable for us? And they're like, because you're a ginger. And I'm like, that's not an argument. That's racism, you prick. but they get away with it. And I'm like, okay, we are the last bastion of racism. That's great. That's going in the title as well, the last bastion of racism, just so they can go, what the fuck is going on here?
What the hell is going on here? Badgers, racism, what?
Badgers, racism, and Bawbags. There we go. We have the title. We have the title. That's what
we just blend like this picture of a badger, me, Thomas the Tank Engine, like the Black Lives Matter fucking sign on it. It's like, what the hell?
Well, in fairness, this is the last series, so see if I'm going out, I'm going out in a blaze of glory, because at least I'll get sunburned quicker.
Like, when you put out, it's like, right, this is the last season. I don't care if I've spoken to you before. I was just like, yes.
Yeah. Well, that was the point. That was the whole point. I was wanting people back that had been on previously as well, so we could have catch-ups and be like, right, what's going on? What's happened since we last spoke? How have things been? Have you been okay? What? And it's quite funny because obviously with the new guests come on, they go, right, what's the setup? And I tell them the basics. Well, I mean, return guests go, right, so what's the plan this time? And I'm like, remember the basics that I gave you? Yeah, there's none of that. Just, we're going on, we're catching up, we're going to talk the biggest load of pish, and we're just going to have fun. Because that's how this started.
Literally, that's what it was. Like,
that's what it was.
you know,
we talked
both
pish, but we touched on mental health as well. That was the whole point. It was like, we need to make them laugh.
We both rewatched the episode we did over a year ago, and I was just like, right, I'm rewatching it just to remember, right, what the setup is. And you were like, you've done it before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm like, sweet, a job I don't actually have to prep anything for.
I have to admit, I loved that. But I did get one spanner thrown in the works because one of my mates was coming on. So he was a return guest, but I'm pals with his wife as well. And she was a new guest. They were coming on at the same time. And I'm like, this is going to be an interesting one because I can ask you the questions that I ask new guests and you can just get ripped the piss out of it.
Honestly,
but there was one point where he was like, right, he'd said, you know, there was a gig that he'd done and they were looking for people with talents. And a guy said he could do a Rubik's Cube in under a minute, complete it. And he went, okay, put up or shut up. Well, so the guy had a Rubik's Cube in his pocket, minute and a half, but he was under pressure. So fair dues. So they had a couple's argument about whether he could do it or not. And he was like, hold on. Off he went, out the room, got the Rubik's Cube. And she's like, we're on a show. And I was like, this is great. He can do this while I'm talking to you because you've never been on before. Well, so I'm asking her questions about like mental health struggles and stuff, and he's trying to work out a fucking Rubik's Cube. It was brilliant.
Like, that just reminds me of like some of the things that would happen like in Ward 13. Because we'd have some of the reactions my character, Tiny, would get. Anyone who's not seen pictures of Tiny, he genuinely looks like the Joker on crack after a come down. Like, that sort of like you're coming off the drugs, but then you're going back up again.
I personally thought, like, give you more of a compliment. I was like, this is what Jared Leto's Joker could have been if it was good. Like, when you see him in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I was like, why couldn't he have been like that in the Suicide Squad? I'm like, just get Kym if there's ever a reboot.
Exactly. Like, this is the thing. Like, some of the reactions we would have was absolutely hilarious. I got away with a lot. I will say that. Because my character was like a surgeon, some of the things I would start saying, and a load of, right, fun thing. Tiny now has a fan club. I don't know why, but some random 16-year-old started a fan club about my character. I don't know why, but essentially, whenever I do the voice, it's like they just wet their knickers. It's like, oh my God. Like, the voice is literally like, hello. Like, it's like that. It's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I was doing this for like 3 weeks of October. Like, every day I would be going in there and just like even talking to like fellow castmates. I'd be like, hello, Nursey, no eyes. Like, it's like, what the hell?
Oh my God.
My laryngitis will not fuck off.
Yeah. You've now found your thing though. You've just told me what your thing is. You've got to let's see if you can patent that character because because there's a market that are growing up that will like this. And you could potentially make something. It might not be the career you were planning, but I wasn't planning to do a show about fucking mental health, Thomas the Tank Engine, and it going somewhere. So exactly. There you go. I mean, you might just message the guy and be like, right, there's a fan base here. What can I get away with, and am I allowed?
It is like this is the thing. Like when the fan club for Tiny came around, at first I was like, come on, this is gotta be a joke. But then now I'm here. It's like it's overwhelming knowing like. As part of the event, I'm like a tiny part of the event. I'm just there to make people piss themselves. Actually happened twice. Someone genuine, like I was basically, so my character would start like crawling along the floor. And I remember one woman in particular, I crawled along the floor, grabbed her ankle. And as I grabbed her ankle felt wet for some reason.
Uh-oh.
And my head sort of went, in character, it went, uh-oh. Oh dear. I made it 10 times worse by going, oh dear. Oh, oh, oh. Like my character was deranged.
All right, well, I know what you've got to do now. You've got to do cameo appearances with that guy. Like happy birthday messages as Tiny. Like for your
that'd be funny. Can you imagine that? Or like, just imagine it's like, hi, I want a cameo saying I'm divorcing you, like something like that, and I could be like, hello, Jonathan. Amanda told me to tell you you're living in your car. Happy birthday.
Oh, I can laugh at that because I lived in my car for a day when I was homeless. It was brilliant. Right. Well, we are coming up on time. So let's get the socials for you plugged for where people can find you. So sell it, my friend.
Excellent. So you can find me on Instagram everywhere, somewhere. Twitter, my phone's dead. Good. The one time I want to promote myself, it's somewhere. It'll probably be on screen somewhere. Follow Reckless Comedy Podcast on Facebook. Don't get me started on Meta. It's fucking Facebook. I don't care. But yeah, Reckless Comedy is still going as high as ever. We're relaunching one of our nights because the venue originally started falling down and then it went under new ownership, completely refurbed. And it's only going to get better from here. And hopefully, I keep saying this every year, but I will eventually get to Edinburgh if someone will give me a grant.
Well, hopefully you do. Hopefully you do, my friend. I mean, well, I almost got to Edinburgh 2023, but that was when everything went to shit. And it was like, I couldn't, like, there was so much.
I mean, there's so many comics up in like that end of the country that I want to go see. People like Jimmy Longman, yourself. There's quite a few comedians up there who keep saying to me, "Oh, when are you going to come up?" And I'll try and get you a gig. And it's like, when I can afford it.
Yeah, I know the feeling, man. But trust me, we will. Well, once you can get up here, you will be welcomed. Well, especially like Jimmy's a great guy. Like, if you need anything with me, just give me a shout as well. Yeah. But all your socials will have been promoted because I can do that now where I put little bits at the bottom. I've worked on editing shit. It works well.
Amazing.
Yep. So all I can say, Kym, is like, we have both had a rough 2023. 2024 is going to get better for both of us. Well, I have every faith in you. Well, and I'm just glad that you came back on. So thank you so much.
Honestly, no worries, man. I love doing stuff like this, and maybe at some point I'll get you on mine when I eventually start up again.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we'll definitely need to do, like, since we have talked about Thomas twice, I know that my Ginger fans will be like, put up or shut up, Kym. So I may need to get you on for one of the reviews.
Oh, hell yeah. Just give me notice, and just give me one thing. It's like, right, I want you to watch this. We're going to talk about this, and we'll see how many times. It'll just be a drinking game. Anyone from Ginger Engine who wants that episode, genuinely, get a shot glass ready.
Oh, yeah. That'll be something that we can do, and I look forward to it. So until next time, my faithful followers, I've been Andrew Durnan. It's been the brilliant Kym Nash. Till next time, take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.